Hey, too many spore mines. That's it, that's the post. Okay, so I found this very helpful post here about the state of spore mines. So apparently to this gamer, there is too many spore mines. Now, I have noticed moments where you can definitely see, aspects of the spore mine apocalypse. I've definitely noticed that spore mines, as far as randomly, spawning spore mines, it feels like they definitely adjusted them. It feels like during the spore mine apocalypse, they were adamant on patching that. So what they decided to do was to cut down the spore mine spawns to a manageable level, I would say. But now it feels like they weren't very happy with it, and maybe potentially in certain runs, maybe the AI game director is, in a bad mood or something, then they just spam spore mines at you. I think there has been moments where it definitely feels like spore mines are, basically spawning in larger numbers, maybe, or at the very least, we're seeing like maybe one really bad spore mine spawn where you can just see like 20 spore mines just pop into the level. That's terrible. Honestly, randomly spawned spore mines should never be at a point where they can just kill runs randomly. I really don't like that. So definitely wanted to revisit this subject a bit because, like, honestly, when you run into spore mines that are just kind of hanging out, they aren't really a problem. The issue for me is on paper, like just imagining, essentially, seeing spore mines just spawn in at points that could just one-shot your team is getting a bit silly. Like, I gotta be honest, if somebody loses their run to spore mines spawning in, like, that has to be the most frustrating experience for this game. I feel like losing runs to things like spore mines is insanely silly. I think the damage spore mines do is insanely silly. I just don't like the random aspect of it. I just don't like the fact that you can get a bad seed and essentially just lose a run because, the game director decided to spawn spore mines directly after spawning extremists or something, and it's a chaotic fight, and yeah, spore mines just spawn right in and kill you. I think the damage for spore mines are way overtuned. Even on absolute, I feel like right now, when it comes to enemy balancing, the game isn't very balanced in that sense. I feel like class balancing, the game's really balanced, but when it comes to enemy balancing, it's like, okay, you can get comboed out by a bone sword squad, like that makes sense. But why is the bone sword squad that is comboing out on you doing the same amount of damage that is practically easy to get with one spore mine? Like, one spore mine is enough to eviscerate your health bar when you have no armor. If you have no armor and you get hit by bone swords, like multiple bone swords, it's practically the same damage output. That doesn't make any sense to me. Personally, to me, I think spore mines, the damage, way too insane. If they want to keep the spawns the way they are now, that's fine. Ultimately, it is reminiscent of what we had before the spore mine apocalypse, where it just felt like spore mines were a pain. And they still are a pain. But what really is annoying, compared to those moments, is we have absolute difficulty now that just absolutely breaks the damage of the enemies you are facing. So if you get hit by practically anything, your run's done. Like, I don't know. To me, personally, I like that aspect when it comes to things that are avoidable, like bone swords, extremist enemies, even biovore spore mines are easier to deal with. But to lose an absolute run because you got hit by one spore mine that just zeroed in on you and you were spamming rolls, and it's like practically the only way to avoid it is to find a wall. Like, I don't know. All that stuff, it honestly just puts a really bad taste in my mouth. I am super sick of spore mines, and honestly, before the horde mode comes out, I'm going to at least maybe post one other video about spore mines about how much I hate them, like, down the line. Maybe they adjust them or something, but honestly, nerf them to the ground. Nerf spore mines into the ground. I just hate the idea of them. Now, when it comes to actually playing around spore mines, it's not as bad as I'm pointing out, but sometimes you can get hit by one spore mine and it just kills your run in absolute because there's no healing. I'm sorry, I don't find that to be really enjoyable difficulty design, to be completely honest. Everything with spore mines is so silly. I want them nerfed into the ground. They're probably the worst game decision in my mind for this game. Like, to be completely honest, just how much damage they do, how many numbers they come in. They're inconsistent spawns where we are seeing huge waves of spore mines, and then sometimes we don't see any spore mines. We'll see like 1 or 2 or something. It just is not a very satisfying way to engage in difficulty with this game. Like, I'd rather deal with 20 bone swords with the potential of getting comboed out. As long as I can see those attacks coming, I have a pretty good chance to survive. But with spore mines, it's like you can even see it coming, but as soon as that little circle hits on the spore mine where it's like, hey, this is an unblockable attack, you pretty much have like no way to go. So if you're fighting other enemies or anything, you're not dodging that spore mine, and that spore mine's going to either completely eviscerate your armor or completely eviscerate your health, and I find that to be way overtuned. It's not as bad as it was patch 6, but still a few too many spore mines, just enough to be annoying, but not make an operation impossible. Yeah, okay, I will admit, just going down once isn't enough to fail an operation. It's just frustrating. It's just frustrating because, no, I don't think I should be at lethal health because I got hit by 1 spore mine. No, I don't think that the next time that I get hit by anything, I should just immediately go down because I got hit by 1 spore mine. Also, no, I don't think I should immediately go down because I got hit by a pack of spore mines. Even in that scenario, it feels a little crazy as far as, you know, where they spawn from. It's really just spore mines being very inconsistent to me that kind of make it feel frustrating. For me, I like going through operations without going down. And basically the things, when you get to that point, where just going down is frustrating, you start to notice the things that are putting you down are practically uncontrollable. You really need to pay attention to every spawn point in the game when it comes to spore mines, and then you're playing too slowly, so in which case you are going to spawn extremists if you play too carefully in Absolute. Dude, I've been seeing so many players in Absolute. This is kind of like a side point. I've been seeing way too many people in Absolute taking their time. Man, it's Absolute. You are level 5, man. You have to keep up with me because we're gonna get through this operation within a good time. 40-minute operations, man, in Absolute, dude. That is a lot of fighting. You're fighting a lot of extremists right there. Sometimes I need a little bit of a 10-minute break or something from an operation like that. So that's neither here or there. Who honestly cares how long an Absolute operation takes? It's just, it's just funny. But yeah, even in those moments where you're taking a little bit longer to complete an operation, you're gonna find more spore mines, which means you can potentially just lose the run randomly. It's so silly. Like, again, I just want to point out that I'm not super frustrated about spore mines because of a skill issue. It's more just on paper how random and overtuned they are just makes it feel really bad when you do go down because of spore mines. I've had operations recently where, I went down to spore mines and we managed to complete that run. My teammates picked me up. It was literally just the spore mines on the map. We cleared out every other enemy, but just because they spawned on top of me, that meant that I deserved to go down. Like, see what I'm saying? Like, that type of stuff gets so crazy. It's like, okay, we cleared out the entire room. We cleared out the entire room of all the bone swords. We defeated 2 waves of extremists. But nah, these spore mines are what's gonna take us down. Like, come on. Like, it's so unserious when it comes to how overtuned spore mines are. Yeah, I think the damage should be cut in half. Like, 100%. Spore mines need a 50% damage reduction if they're gonna keep the spawns the way they are. Which, honestly, the spawns are fine. And not to mention, we have the Biovore anyway, so it's like, the Biovore is more fun to fight than spore mines. If anything, make the things that are fun to fight hit the hardest, because then we don't really care if we get hit. We actually are having fun fighting the thing that actually makes sense. You know what I mean? Spore mines just don't make sense. This isn't even the worst it's been. For me, it's the Barb stranglers. You really got to deal with them quick, else the entire map gets covered. Yeah, no, I mean, we've talked about this, but I just... Look, he's right about this, that the spore mines were worse at a point, but I'm pretty sure even I remember when the game launched and, we started really dealing with, like, spore mines and ruthless and stuff, people hated spore mines then. Like, spore mines weren't any more balanced before the Spore Mine apocalypse, they were also very annoying still. And then people were complaining about them. For whatever reason, I guess I wasn't complaining about them as much, but now that we have absolute difficulty, it just feels like Spore Mines are just overtuned. Like, I'm really not convinced that they should be run killers. I'm not, at all. I'm not convinced at all that they should be run killers. I think, obviously, they should deal damage and status effect damage and, you know, build up your toxicity or whatever. But no, I don't think in absolute one Spore Mine should be enough to put you at lethal health. To the point where if you get hit by literally anything, you go down. No, no, sorry. I don't think Spore Mines are supposed to be like that at all. I guess lore-wise, I'm ignorant to that fact, so maybe they are just supposed to one-shot you on tabletop or whatever. But for the game, regardless, I just think it's very frustrating to deal with. Like, I can't imagine the people who are kind of just dipping into absolute. Like, if they die to Spore Mines, I can't imagine them running that back until they are, you know, just really want to play the game and want to, you know, experience new difficulties. But yeah, honestly, when it comes to absolute, no, I really don't think they should just kill runs. Also, I have to admit as well that they don't really have like a predictable pattern. So even when they spawn in, even if you're able to just clear out a whole bunch, sometimes it only takes 1 or 2 Spore Mines to, you know, go through the mobs, or 1 or 2 Spore Mines, you know, not get destroyed. It only takes legit 1 or 2 Spore Mines to put you in a spot where you have 1 hit before you go down. I find that to be completely ridiculous, like, to be completely honest. Especially with the Barb stranglers, you have to admit that the hazards for this game right now are the most, like, are probably the most frustrating part about dealing with higher difficulties, is just Barb stranglers and Spore Mines. I mean, luckily for Chaos, they don't have anything that annoying. But with Chaos, they still have a lot of ranged chip damage and stuff, so I don't know. I haven't really fought Chaos too much since patch 7 because I've been leveling up, so it's just easier to level up in Tyranid missions. But then you see Spore Mines or Barb stranglers, and it's like, oh great, the run's dead because of the run's dead because of some badly spawned Spore Mines or Barb stranglers that are literally spammed from one part of the level to the other. So yeah, I don't know. I just want to see some. I just want to see some pushback with the way the devs are balancing the game on the enemy side, because it feels like they are really concerned with how much damage we do, you know, but they're not too concerned with how spammy they get on the enemy side. like we're all concerned about invigorating Icon when legit Spore Mines can one-shot you. It feels so silly to be concerned about Icon in that sense, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel. I'm sorry that this turned into a bit of a rant, but I just needed to get this off my chest, man. Spore Mines have been super frustrating to me recently. I just really hate how they are built on paper. If one Spore Mine wasn't enough to put you in lethal damage for absolute, I would not have an issue with it. But their randomness, like, the fact that they're not very predictable, they're hard to avoid. Yes, seemingly we are seeing some burst Spore Mine spawns, so that can be a little bit annoying. And I do acknowledge that just because you go down, it doesn't mean the run is dead. So I don't know. I'm just pointing out how frustrated I am with Spore Mines and how they're balanced. But yeah, contested health for a Melta. Oh god, you know. Oh god, this shotgun had really good contested health. That's such an issue. But nah, Spore Mines can one-shot you. Don't worry about it. You see where I'm getting at? This is the frustrating part for me. But ultimately, as far as the game goes, I have been noticing they spawn a little bit more. But nothing too crazy. Nothing like the Spore Mine apocalypse. So there's that. I think the Barb stranglers just make it a little bit worse, maybe. But yeah, regardless, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about Spore Mines. Let me know in the comments how you feel about my rants. I'm kind of sorry about that, but it's definitely something that needed to be said before Horde mode, because I swear, if we have a Spore Mine wave in Horde mode, yeah, that's going to be one quick way to get people sick of that.